again, sort of the variety of coursework that they were doing and novel coursework, the fact that there was always room for discussion during classroom and outside of class with their teachers.
I'm Agnes Stowicki, Managing Editor with Our Kids. We're speaking with insiders from Canada's leading private and independent schools to bring you insights into school programs, culture, traditions, and leadership. This includes insights from parents, alumni, and administration. This is the Our Kids Insider Perspective.
So when we were looking for school, we live a bit more, I don't want to say rural, but there are not a lot of schools that in our neighborhood or in our city that sort of met all the criteria that I was looking for. My kids had gone to private school for from the time they were in CASA up through till my son had graduated. My older one had graduated grade 8. So we were looking for a high school that was closer to home. And so I had heard about Country Day School for several years. And when we went and we did a tour of the school, they really do sort of exemplify education with balance. So academically, they were very strong. It was a big school, but a very small school feel, and tremendous number of extracurricular activities, not just geared so much to sports. I mean, my children were interested in sports, but debating, robotics, plays, music, choir, snowboarding, skiing. So there was certainly something for everyone. So I felt that it was a very broad based school in terms of academics as well, a novel curriculum that they were developing for the high school, along with an incredible breadth of opportunity for extracurricular and travel. So that's really what sort of was very helpful in sort of choosing that school. And another thing for me, I'm a family physician and I work urgent care. So I'm often not around for drop off and pickup, and my husband travels a lot. So it was really important for us to have a way to get the kids to school. And busing was certainly an option for us. And the school sort of made that happen, even though we were sort of out of their, I don't want to say out of their catchment area years before they had come out to our area. So that was also very important for us in terms of choosing the school. And it was great that I didn't have to worry about lunches as well. So, yeah. So my older son started in grade 9. So I think that was just a big transition year for a lot of kids. So I think, there's a percentage of children who have moved up through CDS, and there was, certainly lots of new kids, and they had orientation for them, which was great. My younger son came in at grade 6, so he was at the tail end of junior school, transitioning to middle school. So although it wasn't a traditional intake year, they did have orientation for, I think there were a handful of kids starting in grade 6. And I think for the most part, my kids were keen on trying different groups and extracurricular, so that helped them also sort of assimilate really well. So the teachers, all took the time to get to know my kids and their strengths and, areas that perhaps, were the focus was different at their previous school. So I think they transitioned well, and I think they felt fairly welcome. I would say sort of exposure to obviously the core curriculum, but novel courses and ways of thinking, the way the teachers do engage with the students. There's a lot of discussion, and they want to know, there's in drama and in literature and even in their chemistry classes and so on. So there's a lot of discussion. So very much like university, where the kids are able to sort of have that discussion time and, getting the kids in the class sort of involved as well. So I think that was really a benefit. Again, sort of the variety of coursework that they were doing and novel coursework, the fact that there was always room for discussion during classroom and outside of class with their teachers, where teachers were accessible and helped to sort of encourage them or give them enrichment work if they were sort of, really interested in the topic. And then again, just the breadth of activities. It's almost a must that the kids do extracurriculars. And I think that really helped them to balance. Both of my kids are in university now. So my younger one just started first year or finished first year. And my older son is just completing second year med school. And I think they would sort of say that, juggling that work-life balance or schoolwork with extracurriculars and making sure that they're devoting, they're learning to prioritize and fit in the time for everything. I think that they would probably say that was certainly a great benefit to them. I think for me, there were several things. One, the class sizes were very small, so the teachers really got to know your children very well, versus just being, the local high school here has 2,000 kids. We are 800, between JK through to grade 12. So there's a lot of genuine interest in the kids. I think I appreciated the exposure to intense coursework, and also knowing that the teachers were flexible and could create sort of independent learning for the kids. There was always, teachers were always available for extra help if the kids needed it, and also sort of exposing my kids to things that they may not have been. My younger son is a great talker. One of his teachers in grade 6 or 7 said, I need him on my debate team. And again, this came out of discussions that they would have in the classroom. And he didn't know anything about debating. I didn't know anything about debating. And I think that that's a skill that really has shaped who he is. So in other schools where maybe there's not that amount of teacher engagement, and not for any other reason other than there are 2,000 kids in a high school. My kids got to participate in some very unique activities that really brought out their skill set, whether it was choir or jazz band with an instrument, debating, or robotics. So it really helped to shape who they are. So I think I appreciate the variety of exposure for kids to try things. And it wasn't something that then I had to do after school. Like, it was all done. It was either done before school or after school, between when classes ended and the bus picked them up. They had to be involved with activities. So when they came home, I didn't have to take them out to additional activities. So for me as a parent that's super busy, that to me was immensely helpful. I think the level of engagement that the teachers had with my students and continue to have years after they've graduated. My older son graduated in 2019. So, there's still that contact with the teachers. Similarly, when they do their they take the kids to various universities and they make it a point to meet them. They have alumni night. So I think that engagement with the students and with the parents as well is tremendous. I've had the opportunity to sit on the board now for a couple of years. So that's been really nice because I miss that connection to the school. So that, again, I think this sense of close-knit community is something that I wasn't expecting from the school, and being so, like, us living so far away from the school. But again, because my kids were involved with a lot of activities, I was at the school quite a bit. So I think that to me, I didn't expect to have that level of engagement, I think. Well, they certainly education with balance. It's definitely, I think they live by that. Offering individualized learning for students who are either having some challenges or may need a bit more time. Understanding kids who are involved with, sports at a higher level, may have different learning. They may not be in school and they may be traveling for their sport. So to make accommodations for that, really encouraging children to sort of participate in all the extracurriculars. So if there were academic conflicts, that the teachers would certainly work with the students in that regard. They're very inclusive. I mean, when you look at the number of clubs, it's not, some schools are known more for arts or some are known more for sports. And this is a school that there's cooking club and there's, there's robotics, there's debating, there's all the sports, there's travel. So I really do think that there is something for everyone. So it is a very inclusive school. So, I think those values balance, teaching the kids, like it wasn't, if the kids had a conflict, they had to go to their teachers and discuss with their teachers and explain why they felt it was a conflict with regards to assignments or test conflicts, or even issues, if they were happening at school. And the kids really were empowered to talk to the teachers. So I think that that's a great skill set, learning how to communicate their, issues that they're having, plus points that they, want to just sort of reinforce. So I think those were all significant sort of advantages that my kids have, but that's just based on the philosophy that the school tries to live by. I wouldn't say typical family. I mean, the nice thing about Country Day School is the catchment area, because I think of their busing. I mean, we live in North Brampton, Caledon, on that border, and there are kids that come from Vaughan, there are kids that come from Toronto, kids that come from Barrie and Newmarket. So there's a real mix of students at the school. That sort of bring, I think, different perspectives from where they have grown up. So in terms of typical family, I don't even know how to answer that. There are a lot of international students that come, sometimes for a year or two, sometimes for a bit more. There are kids who've been there from JK, small families, big families. So I wouldn't say that there's a typical family. You're seeing again, kids from all backgrounds, all races, all cultures. So I wouldn't be able to sort of answer what the typical family is, but I think most parents are very involved. So I'd say that's probably typical about families. So so I would say probably for my younger one, debating and or robotics. He's doing software engineering at Waterloo. So I think that really helped to shape his career path. I'm not sure if he wasn't exposed to it, but then having teachers that sort of were very encouraging, providing that leadership, again, having great teachers for computer science and computer engineering while at Country Day. And even before that, I think robotics starts in grade 6 or 7. My older son's in medical school, but singing is his passion. So he was part of the choir, he was part of jazz band, he was, in drama, and, any opportunity he had to sing, he would. So I think they really fostered and allowed him to see that he could do both. So, and be successful at both. So I think he would probably say something like that. So, I, you know, I would go for parent-teacher interviews, and loved going to see the teachers. I mean, they always had very specific, like it wasn't a generalized, report. And I really truly felt that they knew my kids. And because my kids were in a lot of activities and I was dropping off or picking up, I feel like, I did have an opportunity to meet a lot of the teachers. And over the years, it was same teachers sort of doing drama in several years, or it was the English teacher that was doing drama, or, like the robotics coaches were, math teachers or software engineering. So my kids had a lot of exposure. So they became very familiar names at school. And again, in a big school, I think maybe there's not that sort of personal touch, but I think teachers always sort of recognized you, had a personal question to ask, interested in how the kids were doing, even if they weren't in the classroom. So it's a very welcoming atmosphere. And I think the teachers have a very genuine interest in the kids and their families. So one is, I would say, small class size, which allows a lot of personalization of teaching in regards to the kids' needs or extracurricular activities that they may be involved in and need sort of a different schedule. And the variety of coursework that is offered. Second would be the vast amount of extracurricular activities that the children can be exposed to. So, when kids are younger, they don't know what they like. So you try them in soccer and basketball and baseball and swimming because they don't know what they don't know what they like or haven't been exposed to. And because my kids were on the bus, they had to partake in activities, and it was different every semester. So they couldn't just sort of sit idle. So they got to try a huge breadth of activities, and the extracurriculars are incredibly intense. For example, during one of the play productions, they were doing a comedy improv, and they had folks from Second City come and do workshops with the kids. Their band camps that they sort of get the kids to go to in early September in preparation for the year. You had instructors from the Toronto Symphony Orchestra. These are not like they put their heart and soul. So everything is very important to the school. So I think the extracurriculars and exposure to that. And also that sense of it's a small school feel in a large school. So it really, parents are involved, kids are involved. They really are looking for input and how to ensure that there is education with balance. So I would say those three things for sure. So I would say, I think it's important for them to go to the school and to obviously take a tour and speak to the students. And I think that's what I enjoyed, is that it was actually students doing the tour. And we had like very young, someone in grade 4, sort of being able to give us a very sort of, kids are kids, they're going to say what they feel. So I think that's really important to speak to some of the teachers in their children's grade as well, or the grades that they're going into. But just to really take a look at other schools, because I think that's where you'll see the strengths and weaknesses in a school. So we looked at several schools. My kids had been to other schools through their educational journey, and to be able to compare what schools offered, where kids sort of ended up after high school. I think that was important for our family. And the, services, lunch was included. So I didn't have to worry, snacks were included. Busing was something that we could certainly organize. So knowing that my family would have a hard time getting my kids to school every day if they didn't have busing. So those kinds of things were important. But I think just really going and feeling comfortable to ask the questions if your children have special needs, or if they have they're involved with outside sports or activities that take them away from school. Is the school going to be able to accommodate that and work with your child and your family to ensure that they're successful in both? I think those are important things to ask.
For more information about this school, you can visit their profile at ourkids.net.